It's Kenny. Oh, my voice is so high today. So today I wanted to talk about Miraculous again. I'm sorry, guys, who want other content, but my most watched videos are two Miraculous videos: the Chat Blanc Theory and the All Miraculous Holders videos. So you guys obviously like it. Like, it's got like an hour plus of watch minutes in the last 28 days. Oh my gosh. I could not be happier. I could not be. But I'd like to do another kind of episode review and how it's important to the series as a whole. And today I decided to talk about Glaceiator. I know that this one's kind of old. It's at the beginning of season 2, and a lot of people remember it for the first Mary Chat moment. That's a big one. I was talking to my Miraculous friend the other day. I was talking to her about it and what her favorite episode was. I was telling her about Glaceiator, and she was like, "Oh, it's the first Mary Chat moment." But I was like, "No, it's so much more. There's so much more to that than just the cute little Mary Chat moment. Sure, it's a great plus, and I really like that. But there's so much more in this episode. I kind of wanted to discuss that and start a conversation about it." This was also the episode where I kind of just fell in love with the series. I was watching it with my sister. I was like, "Oh, it's a weird superhero show." And then that episode plays. I was like, this has an emotional setting. It's in a place we haven't seen before, and it's about superheroes. I'm a Marvel nerd, so it just kind of like hit me. So that's why I wanted to talk about this episode. So let's talk about it. So let's talk about the beginning. Now, I love it when this show shows other fight scenes just ending, like in Reflected All. I talked about that. And that's right where this kicks off. It's not an Akuma. It's not anything of that. It's just a bus whose brake lines got stopped or something, and it's barreling down the street. And Ladybug and Cat Noir come and save everyone, like usual. And I really like that concept that they like almost like advanced police officers. Like there's like I forget which episode. It was Copycat. They have this alarm that's going off for an Akuma attack, and it just kind of seems like this code of like what they're doing. It's a system, like a higher branch of the police offices, even. Like it's so fun to think about. Like, say, Iron Man was here in real life. Yes, he'd be watching out for other things than just the big villains. He'd probably be walking down the street and see, I don't know, like a robbery happening, and be like, "Oh, I'm gonna save this." Like, I love that concept of superheroes. It jumps right into that, and they like saving the day and everything. But besides that concept, so right after they save the bus, Ladybug and Cat Noir are helping everyone out of the building, and Cat comes over and is like, "Hey, you know what we should do? We should get together as superheroes and get to know each other a bit. It's like, how about tonight on top of the roof? Be super cool." And Ladybug's like, "Well, actually, I have plans with friends," which is a totally normal thing. Like, everyone, goes out with friends sometimes, and sometimes plans just don't work. Cat Noir's like, "Oh, you can still come if your plans aren't short." This is the one problem I have wrong with the episode. He says that. Ladybug blatantly tells him that she cannot make it. And he gets mad about it later in the episode. But let's continue. So that's set in motion. So then we cut to Marinette being at home, and she's super excited because today she gets to go and have Andre's ice cream, which is, quote, the Sweetheart's ice cream maker, with all her friends, including Adrian. Which is awesome because they're the only two people on a relationship, as we find out when she goes there. And it's kind of like this big chance she has. And she's super excited about it. She skips her favorite dessert, which is a big, like, weird detail. But I didn't really care for it. But, so she goes down, and, since Adrian is Cat Noir, he can't make it because he's setting up the dinner for Ladybug, which is Marinette, which is awesome in this episode. They both get dumped by each other, and they don't know it. And it is so good. I love that plot point. But they go there, and Marinette's really sad, Adrian's really sad, and Andre tries to offer her an ice cream cone to make her feel better. And he's like going on about like, oh, it's magic, I can see love in your heart, and it's so amazing. Eat the ice cream and your love will materialize, sort of thing. That's the best impression I've ever done. Not like quality rise, but it was so fun. So he does that, and Marinette's like, no, I really don't want to. Like, she's just hurting because Adrian couldn't be there, and all her friends are like in this already in a relationship and stuff. And it's just like, you can just see her feel sad, and she's like, I don't want the ice cream. And then someone knocks it out of her hand, and it drops, and Andrew makes her another one, and she walks away, which led to Andre getting akumatized. So Marinette blatantly caused an akumatization in this episode, which is a really good plot point because she's human. She hurts people, and that can happen. And you see this as like a trend throughout the series. Like Marinette, she sometimes does things selfishly. Aiden from Cartoon Apocalypse, love his channel. He's really good. He brought up this point of Marinette directly causing akumatizations, and yes, she does do things selfishly. She's a high school student, actually in the USA. Should actually be in middle school where I'm at, which is kind of weird to think about. Like, these 13-year-olds are going out and battling like a 30-year-old, sending out evil butterfly. It gets absurd when you think about it. But yeah, it just shows like the human side of these characters. And that is just awesome. No, not a lot of TV shows go this emotionally deep with their characters like Miraculous does, which I really relate to. It's really cool. But anyway, she's really hurt, and it cuts to her in her bedroom, and she's like, oh, I ruined the whole night for everyone, and mean to Andre, and it was horrible, horrible, horrible. And she goes out on her balcony, and I love this scene because she's just alone with her own thoughts. Like, Tiki pops up and wants to go and comfort her, and she realizes she can't really do anything. And hovers back down, and it's sad. And the sun's going down and everything. And then it cuts to Cat Noir on top of the roof. He set up this big dinner and everything. It's a bunch of candles lit all over the place, and he's realizing that she's not going to come. And he's kind of heartbroken about that, and he starts blowing out the candles. Like, picking out the trope of picking out the flowers and, like, I love you, she loves me not. He's doing this, but with the candles as he's blowing them out. So he's like, she loves me not, she loves me not, she loves me. And he holds up the last lit candle. He holds it up, and he realizes it kind of like strikes a chord with him. It's like, will this ever happen? And like, as us viewers, we already know what's gonna happen. Like, that's how a TV show works. But him, he's like, she shows me no signs that she's into me. Is this ever gonna work? And he stands there and contemplates it for a moment until he looks over and sees Marinette. So he puts down the candle and goes over to Marinette's house. And Marinette's super sad and like talking to herself. Not necessarily to Tiki because she's not there. But he comes over and is like, sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. I love this scene. This is my favorite scene. Like, it is the first Mirror Chat moment. But there's just so much emotion packed into every second of this. And every line has a meaning. So he comes over and he's like, I don't really feel like being a superhero tonight. But I also don't feel like being alone tonight either. And this is when Marinette kind of realizes, oh, you're actually in love with Ladybug? Like, those aren't just like flirtatious. Actually, I don't know how she didn't figure it out. It's like super weird. But she's totally shocked. And Cat Noir kind of says, like, oh, you've had your heart broken too? As an audience, you already know everything. You see the world not as the character is seeing it, but as it's like holding the world in the palm of your hand. I saw a picture of that once, and I thought it was super well, super correct. But you don't see it as the character is seeing it. You put it together faster than the character does. And you already know that Marinette is Ladybug and Adrien is Cat Noir. But they don't know that. So you're seeing Cat Noir as Adrien, who flaked on Marinette, talking to Ladybug, the person that flaked on him. How they like broke each other's heart, but not on purpose. And that is the most meaningful scene I've ever seen from the show. It's like, there's a lot of cute scenes in the show, but this one was just the best in every way. It struck a chord with all the audience members, with the characters. That was the best. It was literally the best scene they could have put in there. And so, Cat Noir, he, after a bit of talking with Marinette, he takes Marinette to where he was going to take Ladybug for dinner, relights all the candles, and shows Marinette around, and Marinette is amazed. And then she realizes this is what he was really trying to be with me tonight. He set up all these things, and she's apologizing on the behalf of Ladybug, but Cat Noir doesn't know that. So he's like, just don't feel sorry for me, sort of thing. And he's like, you're only saying that to make me feel better. And that's when the cringiest point of this episode is, because she's like, yeah. And then Andre, akumatized form, parts out. And just like starts shooting ice cream everywhere. Yeah. So that happens, and Cat Noir comes in and saves Marinette, takes her back to her house, and he's saying goodbye, and then as he's turning around, Marinette grabs his tail and stops him and is like, thank you for cheering me up. And Cat Noir just kind of gives her this loving look. It's like, you know Adrien has feelings for Marinette at this point. And this is the before the just a friend phase, like has been in every other episode. But say this episode was done after all of those. That, like, shows how much Marinette means to him. Like, more than just a friend. He just kind of says, thank you. I mean, you're welcome. Don't know why he would say thank you. But, and then he runs off to defeat the Akuma, and that's when Ladybug comes. Marinette turns into Ladybug, comes and goes to help defeat Glaceiator. Glaceiator is kind of a weird akumatized because he has power over the ice cream, but it doesn't change him at all. Like, he surrounds himself in ice cream. That's basically it. He's like evil Iron Man. There's nothing special about him. He can just control ice cream and turn people into ice cream. That's basically it. Like, as design details for actual Andre is, nothing much happens in that sense. But so now, Ladybug and Cat Noir are there. And Cat Noir is kind of sour, like, oh, why didn't you show up? I hope you had a nice time with your friends. And it's like, dude, she told you she couldn't make it, so stop that. That is... Stop being a douche, basically. And Ladybug's confused, like, I already told you I couldn't make it. But, so yeah. And Ladybug notices that the Glaceiator is not firing at the couples as they like battling and bickering it out. So they hide away in a corner, and Ladybug starts explaining this to him, and he's like, we could pretend. And Cat Noir kind of like looks at her like, what? No. Stop. And he says, Ladybug is not cool to play around with other people's feelings, which is totally true. Like, even Marinette knows he's in love with Ladybug. Puppy, stop the yipping. Okay? Marinette knows he's in love with Ladybug. She said this out loud. Why is she so dumbstruck when she's, telling him that, oh, I don't have any feelings for you. We can just pretend. Puppy, sit. I love you, but you gotta sit. I'm sorry, this little puppy is interrupting the whole video. Puppy! But, yeah. So that happens, and she manages to convince him, after he fails a couple times, she manages to convince him that this is the only way, and they walk out holding hands, sort of thing, and then Ladybug leans closer to him, and it's so cute, and then kisses him on the cheek, and then Glaceiator doesn't fire at them, and then they can attack him. And then Ladybug uses her lucky charm, etc., etc. I don't really need to cover this. You know how the show works. But that happens, and there's just so many cute moments. Like, both Lady Noir, Lady Chat, what? Lady Noir and Mary Chat moments are in here. And they're executed very well with a lot of potential for other plot lines, which they drop for It's Just a Friend and Luca, and Luca is a good character, don't get me wrong, but they drop those plot lines that were seated in there, and Marinette completely forgets that Chat is genuinely in love with Ladybug. But the ending is where it sparkles and shimmers and just totally awesome. So they defeat the Akuma, and Marinette goes back to Andre's to apologize and finally get the ice cream. And it's like peach like his lips, mint like his eyes. Eat this, my dear, and your love will materialize, sort of thing. I'm pretty sure that's a direct quote. Yay! But she takes it, and she goes over and sits down at the end of the bridge. So there's like a bridge, and Andre's in the middle of it. And then Adrien comes from the other side, right after Marinette, goes down the steps. She doesn't see him. And he's come over and it's like, is your ice cream really magical? And he's got, this little twinkle in his eyes, like childhood fondness. He is, 13. My gosh. So he goes over and he's like, strawberry chocolate chip or something. And it's blue like her hair and dark blue like her hair and blue as her blue ball eyes or whatever, obviously pointing to Ladybug and also Marinette. And he takes it and goes to the other end of the bridge, and they're both eating it, but out of sight from each other. And that is a really great end card, because the end card, it circles Marinette and Adrien on opposite sides of the bridge, has the cute little effects. And it's just so well executed. It's one of the better end cards of the episodes. Some of them are weird, but this one just was really good and hit hard. This episode pulled off a lot of emotional beats and did them well. Not a lot of shows can say that. They pulled it off well. It introduced us to the first mirror chat moment, which is a big step, but it also seeded later feelings for down the line, which we can see being explored in further episodes. That's why this episode is such a pinnacle point in the series. It shows that they both have this kind of sentimental side for each other. Normal Adrian kind of takes the back seat in this one, but you see it reflected through Cat Noir how much he appreciates Marinette. But it's so sweet, and they pull off so much stuff that makes sense. Like, take Party Crasher for an example. Now we know that it's completely out of order and everything, and it should have been released like after Feast and Star Train and Desperado. But it pulled off too much stuff, didn't have emotional beats, and kind of just felt like fan service the entire time, giving these other characters miraculous when they weren't supposed to. This one stayed true to its lore, pulled off emotional beats that had a purpose, didn't feel fanservy at all. It felt clean and cut and nice, and did everything successfully, unlike Party Crasher did. Now, I know a lot of people like Party Crasher. I do not. I've said that many times. But this is the better reflection of what that episode could have been. And it extended on these characters we know and love. And I feel like it can enhance the series as we know it if the film writers call back to this episode and not make a Stormy Weather 2, but they call back to a boring episode and try to tie that in. Sorry, some of the writing things in this series could really be used somewhere else. But if the film writers call back to it, it would work. It would flow naturally. It would start growing that seed that was planted in this episode. So that's why I wanted to start this discussion. Let people talk about this episode and how it affects the series. There's a lot of people talking about season 3 right now, and that right now is awesome with like Feast. Feast was great. I'll probably make a video on that. But some of these earlier episodes planted these things, and they're not playing out yet. And I want to see them play out, especially in this episode, and show the more artistic talent that the show can bring and the emotions this show can bring. And I'd really like to see that. So this is more of a call to the film writers, if anything else, the show producer. Please let this play out in some sort of way. And I want you guys to talk about it. Give your theories on these earlier episodes, because they're really the ones that, started us on this big journey, started this fan base. Well, on that somber note, here's the official. See ya.